Charles, how are we different compared to Tezos? So there are surface level similarities between the Tezos project and Cardano project, but under the hood, they're completely different projects because they have completely different foundations for their technology. We do not have the same consensus algorithms. So our security models are different. The way our algorithms work are different. How people delegate are different. How people stake are different. How stake pools operate are different. Our protocols were built over a multi-year period with lots of peer review. And they provide things like a decoupled clock with Chronos, eventually recovery from dishonest majority. We do not require a checkpoint, these types of things. So the consensus layers are completely different. The network layers are completely different. We built something from scratch. I think they may be using secure Kademlia or something like that, but they're using much more standard things, nothing significant there. We have a completely different network stack based on principles like RENA. And has the ability to dynamically adjust its peer-to-peer policy. We're going to have best-in-class PubSub whenever we get that. And our performance and resilience in that network stack is very, very good. And we thought about it for over 3 years and wrote a 106-page paper on how to do that. Third, our accounting models are completely different. So Tezos uses an Ethereum-style account model. We use something called the extended UTXO model. We wrote a paper about this in January, and this model is great because it enables us to use Hydra. You cannot use Hydra in its current form in Tezos. Second, this model is much more amenable to sharding. World state is much harder to shard, and extended UTXO is much better for a functional design model. And it also gives us a superior way of handling multi-asset to the way that they handle multi-asset. Our governance systems are totally different as well. When we launch the Voltaire testnet, you guys will see that, but we have a different way of voting and a different way of handling democracy. They've chosen a much more deep on-chain system. We've chosen a system that starts a little bit off-chain, but with something in a side chain, which we can gradually bring in. So it's a slightly more conservative way of handling governance. But overall, I think it's a nice way of doing it because it allows us to make rapid changes to that governance system. We're both implemented in functional languages. We use more formal methods than they do. But they use OCaml, and there is some cock that they use in their stack. We'll give them that. But there are surface level similarities, but they're completely different design, science, and philosophy in these projects. They were primarily launched as a governance experiment. So they are a proof of stake coin. They do smart contracts, but the real USP of Tezos is governance on chain. This is what they were all about from the L.M. Goodman days. Very worthwhile experiment to conduct, and I think they've actually made some meaningful and significant contributions. We were launched as what we termed a third-generation cryptocurrency, so we deeply wanted to understand interoperability, we deeply wanted to understand scalability, and we deeply wanted to understand governance. And we've made, in our view, meaningful contributions in all of these categories, and we have answers and solutions to all of these categories, whereas they've been primarily pushing governance. Now, they've been able to get to market a little faster than us because we had some delays mentioned before. But, this is how it is. And if I had a do-over, I would have been to market before them. And if they had a do-over, they would have been to market really quickly, too, because they would have made many different decisions about their governance and about the people that they worked with and so forth. And these things happen. And no one will remember them in 5 years or 6 years after we've shipped everything in our stacks. But I think ultimately the process that we've chosen, the way we approach how we write code, the way how we work with academic partners, all of these things are definitely very different from how Tezos works. And the fact that we now have 62 papers we've published. I don't recall a single major scientific paper that they've published and pushed through peer review. I guess they don't feel that's necessary. And we get criticized a lot in the space that's not necessary, but I feel that foundations built on academic rigor are much, much, much more meaningful than foundations built by engineers. And we try it until it doesn't work, especially when you're talking about people's privacy and money and people's identity.